Good morning, good morning. I hope you're waking up with a big smile here today at Create and Craft. We have got such an amazing hour. I know you're tuned in to see Jenny Raymond because she is such an incredible teacher. And you know what? Her talents are huge. If you've got any emails for her, please get them in studio at createandcraft.tv. Jenny Raymond, you're in the house.
Thank you.
You are in the house and you're here.
I'm here today to do the quilting classroom.
Yes!
Yes, and we've got a job for you to do too.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm so excited because normally I just sit here, Jenny Raymond, sort of like just there in the corner, like a
now
pudding.
You're going to work, my friend.
Yes, I can't wait. You're going to put me to work and I'm going to be working on one of your kits.
Yep.
How exciting. What can we expect from you today,
Right,
Jenny
what we're going to
Raymond?
do today is we're going to run through a quick bag method of making a quilt. Then we're going to look at these easy peasy kits, what you are going to do. And then we're going to do the classroom proper when we are going to go into doing this particular block. Okay, and we're going to have a few stars to just twinkle a little bit as well.
Can't wait. Now, before we kick off with that, we are going to do the easy peasy baby quilt. We're going to give everybody a few items. Then I'm going to get lost because that's what you want me to do, and you're going to get crafting, get quilting. But first of all, we're going to give everybody the easy peasy baby quilt. You've got two options: bubblegum or safari. Now these are very well priced, Jenny, at just $16.19 if you're in the club, aren't they?
What you get here is you get the entire front and the entire back of your quilt. So you've got two big pieces of fabric. All you need is a bit of wadding and time. Full instructions are in. This is a great kit for the beginner.
Oh,
or somebody wants something, I just want to do a quick quilt. I need to get started, I need to get into it again, I want to do something that's fast. Hanging behind me are both the quilts, as you can see on the camera.
Oh, they're so pretty.
One with the little heifer lumps on and one with the triangle. So they're going to make it up with the bag method. You could, if you wanted to, put the backing together and bind it properly if you're an experienced quilter. But if you're really new to it and you want to have a go at your first quilt, then the bag method might be the way to go.
What's the bag method?
Wait
what does
and
that
see.
mean? Okay, thank you. 390963 is your item code if you would like the easy peasy baby quilt. What a great price tag. More goodies for you. We have got for you the TriMet.
Yes. These are 4 delightful little kits, and you get all 4, I think.
I love these.
You
get all 4 for the one price?
Yes, you get the hearts, you get the cactus, you get the donut and the pineapple. Now, these are quick, easy quilts, kits to do. They've even got the holes punched out for you. If you are a raw beginner, if you're perhaps a younger person, maybe you're an older person and you've got to go wait for somebody, sit in a bus stop, wait at the hospital, something like that, you can put this in your handbag because in there is everything you need. You don't need anything else. It's in the kit, the needle, the thread, the whole thing, and indeed the stuffing. A small pair of scissors might be useful. But yes, it has got a bite out of it. And in fact, you glue this on. So a bit of one of those water-soluble glues just finishes it off. So everything is in the kit. And you've got the pineapple, the heart. But think mobiles. I thought these would be, if you put a thinner ribbon in them, you could hang them up as a mobile. They'd be great for babies. Decorate the cot with. They're just silly, delightful little kits, and you get all of them, and I think they're absolutely amazing. I had great fun making them, I must confess.
I love them. So that's £3 per kit. Yes. No, it's way less than that because it's $10.79. This is a crazy price tag. You know what? What a great one to get, and then have 4 individual.
You keep the one you like. You give the 3 away.
Love this.
And you can, of course, because the shape's there, always use the shape again to make others and further ones because you've got the shape.
I love it.
So you just get some more
you get
felt.
the fabric in there.
You get the fabric, the needle, the thread, and what's more, Aunt Jen, you get. I've done all the kits, and you get more than enough thread left over.
I love it.
And indeed enough stuffing. So you're not tight for anything. They have actually got in there the whole lot to make whatever it is on the front.
I need those in my life. And what a great price tag. 390965 makes 4. Great to do with children. Great to do when you're on the go. Fantastic if you're getting your sewing mojo back for £10.79. I'm going to be doing these later so you can see how badly wrong it gets.
It can't go badly wrong.
It won't, because all the holes are punched out for you. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy. So the templates in front of us. These are lovely templates, aren't they?
These are new. We've got 3 different shapes. Shape number 1 is the 5-star shape. Now, this is really hard to draw up. So those of you who are thinking, oh, I can easily draw a 5-star shape up. No, you can't, a 5-pointed star. You get 3 different sizes in there. And what's more, they've all got on them the seam allowances marked. So if Jenny, you have to just move your hand.
Of course.
What you could do, and now foolishly I left all my samples at home this morning. I sort of left rather early and forgot. But if you draw around the template and then you put a pencil through the little holes, you can actually mark the seam allowance. So it's got the seam allowance there for you. So you can cut them out and then hand turn them, turn the edge over. You can apply them as they are. What about cutting 2, slotting them together, hanging them up as a mobile? What about making them in felt? So you can play. So you've got the stars, then you've got the hearts. Now with the hearts, if we can just come to this thing, hang on, leaning on the book. And many people have got the Sew Pieces book, but there's a rather nice thing you can do with a heart, and you could do this with all the hearts you've got there. This particular design, and indeed at home I had a real mini one done with the smallest, littlest wee heart, the one that is there, and I did this with that, and it looks just like a strawberry. So they come on a retaining chain, which you can either keep with them, they come in a neat little bag. Now not only have you got the stars and the hearts, but you've got circles as well, again with that seam allowance marked in them. So it's easy to turn round, easy to draw around, solid to use, neat little bag to put them in, on a retaining wire, which you can keep there or not, and you can just play.
Love this.
Yep.
390964 is your item code. Brand spanking new today. £11.69 in the club. Incredible value. Incredible. Now,
right, again, come around the other side.
Round past me, Dana.
Right, the next template is the Star and Geese template, and that's what I'm going to be basing the classroom on today. And indeed, the classroom is this particular piece, which you can see I've embellished with those stars and indeed with the hearts. And actually, in the centre is the circle. I'm not terribly certain whether I like the circle in the centre. That's why I've still got the bit of fabric just covering it up. It's sort of,
I like it.
Yes, I think I like it. On the PDF, they have a chance to, you can have it or not have it. So that's your circle, that's your heart, that's your star. That's a template I'll be using.
Okay. So it's a template you will need if you want to get involved in the quilting classroom today. At £17.99 is the price I give you in the club for this template. If you're not in the club, it's definitely worth becoming a member of the club if you want to pick up a few items today, because you get that lower price tag. Another template is the patchwork ruler.
This is a very good ruler, and the reason why I like it is it's small enough to fit in your bag. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It's 4.5 inches, and strangely enough, most of the strips we're using for today's classroom are 4.5 inches
Oh, what
wide.
a coincidence, Jen.
And it also has your seam allowance on here. So if you wanted to draw a 1/4 inch seam allowance, you simply put your fabric edge on the line here, put your pencil down there, and you can draw your 1/4 inch seam allowance.
Brilliant.
So it's a neat ruler. It's got all the important degree marking lines on it, so it works just like every other ruler, but it's light to carry, easy to use, and jolly good with that particular seam allowance. And I just find it's one of those neat rulers I've got tucked away because you can't break it. You don't go around the corner with it sticking out your bag and go snap. It's just a neat, tidy, easy little ruler.
And a great price tag, just £12.59 if you're in the club. Another one that you're going to need today if you're going to get involved with Jenny's classroom. Now, the rotary cutter is something that is super important for anyone who's doing anything with fabric. It's the rotary cutter, isn't it?
This has a particularly ergonomic handle because it's a nice soft feel handle. You feel the handle. It's made of that soft stuff, so it feels soft. It's not
and this
hard.
makes a big difference, and I shall tell you, you get hoof picks with
really?
handles like this, and they make a big difference.
So
because
you don't get blistered
Well,
hands.
it hurts, yeah, because, well, you pick it up first and you think, of course that doesn't hurt, but you have that in your hand all day long. After, you know, it does end up being uncomfortable. This is beautiful. It's so soft, yes.
Right, so there you are. If you're going to go around hoof picking, don't do it with the rotary cutter.
No, don't do that, no.
Right, the other advantage this cutter has is it stands up.
Okay.
And it has a self-retracting blade, so that if you simply push it along, it cuts.
Oh my God.
So there's no having to use your thumb to open the blade, it just cuts. So as you apply pressure, this goes back, exposing the blade. Now, when you go home, what you do then is you lock it.
Yeah.
So that can't go back.
It's safe
It's
then.
safe. So undo
that's
that.
Very sharp, but that's a crisp line.
Okay, and
how
so
satisfying is that?
It's really satisfying, and then you can just leave it like that, ready to go, ready to go.
And essential for you. Can I change the blades, or will I not need to?
You can change the blades, yes, and it takes the regular 45mm blades, so you haven't got to worry about having, oh, I've got to have so-and-so's blade. No, anybody's 45mm blade will fit in there very happily. And
it does come with a spare blade for you. It's only $8.99 if you're in the club. I think it's a tool well bought at $8.99.
Very good tool, well
don't
bought.
You? 290980 is your item code for that one. Now, you're cutting that, but with a difference, Jen.
Yep. Now, the reason why this is so good, if you have a shape, something like the pentagons, and we've got the pentagons back on the show again, and you want to cut round the shape, you can only turn your body so far, because I can't cut towards me. But what I can do is I turn the mat.
Oh, perfect.
And I turn the mat. So anybody who has dexterity problems and can't move their body easily, anybody who's got awkward shapes to cut out, if I cut that side, this is absolutely ideal. Now, the double whammy with this particular piece is that when you take it apart, let me show you how it actually works. It works by the base having the indentation risen up. So that's right. And this has the indentation going in. Right. So if you wish, you can use that as a cutting mat. You're not going to cockle on a funny lump on the bottom.
I see.
So that can just be a plain cutting mat. But when you put the two together, and just pop it back on top again.
I think that's great for all sorts of crafts.
Yes, I mean, cake icing.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is basically a lazy Susan.
Yes.
It's a square lazy Susan.
So
that works remarkably well, particularly for cutting shapes. So rotary cutter and that.
Oh, you need it. £31.49 if you are in the club. 387105. A lot of you asking for that pentagon that Jen was just using. So, Jen, can you give the details for that?
Right, these are the pentagons. Now, we did a classroom on the pentagons where I did that little box.
I love it.
Could you pass me the stitch bit?
Anything for you, darling.
Right, that's my pleasure. Now, this indeed, let me get the other one as well, which is here. This was the classroom. And on this particular little box bowl, call it what you will, is I used the biggest hexagon. And everybody laughed because, as you can see, we've got reindeer, poorly reindeer.
Oh, he's upside down.
Yes, we make mistakes sometimes. So these
I say it's a quirk. You have to spot the mistake.
And you get 8 different pentagons here. We sold out when I did the classroom, and many of you will have the classroom already recorded. But the way that this little bowl was done and that particular design came from the Stitch Bits book, which is the same method of folding as it was for doing the hexagon design. So let's come to that. So this method of folding was how I did the pentagon. And indeed, I know we've got hexagons on the show if you would like those as well. So 8 different sizes of pentagons, and you're absolutely good to go for your pentagon box or bowl.
Fantastic. And the books that you were referencing, they're on our website, so go and have a look. It's createandcraft.tv, as is everything that's on the show. We've got some more goodies for you as well. Your pentagon templates are just $11.69, but your wedge... 10-degree wedge is all for you here at £15.29. 274051 is your item code for that. 50-degree triangle is next. 295391 is your item code for that. 60-degree triangle, £15.29. Next is our square inch. This is your folding square 8-inch, and it's 6.
This opens out to form a square. It's an amazing. It's both a triangle with the seam allowances added, so it works just like all these other triangles we've had on before, but it opens out to form a square. So you've got 2 tools in one.
Fantastic, and a great price tag for you. 387103. Our fabric circle cutter is next.
Rotary cutter, all you simply do is insert what looks like that little round knob at the bottom into the groove, get in the groove, push it round with the palm of your hand, and it easily cuts circles. If you place the edge of the template on the fold of the fabric, just push that little knob right round and you will get a perfect circle.
That's what you want, the perfect circle. $26.99 if you're in the club. 387121. Fabric next, because of course you need fabric, and these are phenomenal fabrics. Look at the price tag as well. They're only $8.99 if you're in the club for a pack of 6 fat quarters. Beautiful colour, isn't it? This is the denim butterfly, 100% cotton. 384689 is your item code. Oh, I love the dinosaurs. This would make such a great quilt for a child, wouldn't it? You get 6 of the fat quarters, and those are £8.99 if you're in the club 363-053. Great prices here. Tuscany is next. I wish Tuscany was next. Let's go to Tuscany, Jeff.
Why not?
You'd rather not?
No. Why not?
Oh, why not?
We've got to do the classroom first.
Oh, well, it goes without saying. 6 pieces. 6 pieces for £8.99 in your basket. That one goes.
That's classic colours. Strong blues, strong yellows. It is the sun. It is those fields of Tuscany. It is that wonderful Italian feel to it.
It absolutely does. That lapis blue in there. Gorgeous. 35373. Can't read numbers this morning. Hey, I've had a cup of tea. Next up is the Ombre by Heather Jacks. Heather is a wonderful guest here at Create and Craft. She was the winner of the Sewing Bee.
Look at the price, Mrs. Just look at that price.
Would you remember these sold out when you
Yes,
and I had them the other day?
Yes, and they went on Wednesday as well. We've got some stock back. We've got the grey and the black back.
And they're such great quality
fabric, absolutely super fabric. It's quilting quality fabric, and you've got 6 fat quarters there, so you've got 6 lots of 18 by 22 inches. That's a lot of fabric.
Based on the designs from Heather's Garden, Jenny told me just the other day. 365,569. Now look at the price tag. They're only £4.49. These will probably sell out in this hour, so if you want them, you must be quick. You know what? Last time we did them, gone. Time after that, gone. These will go quickly. Great fabric, phenomenally low price tag. Wadding, you'll need a bit of wadding, although I'm trying to lose a bit of the wadding that I put on over Christmas. $7.19, and that's for a 45-inch by a 60-inch. Nice large pad of wadding there for you at $7.19 if you're in the club. Bit of Bonder web, this is something that's going to be an essential. $269,688 is for your Bonder web, £2.51. So stock up on those. Jenny, you're going to get a head and demo there, darling.
I am indeed.
Do you want to give me my sewing kit?
No, because I'm going to show you how to do it, and then you can have it. So you just have to twiddle your fingers for a minute or two.
Okay.
Sorry.
No.
So just sit there and look beautiful.
Right, I'll just sit there and think about cake.
Right, it is the quilting classroom. We're going to be plodding our way through a variety of different techniques. But what I wanted you to do to show you to begin with was how quick and easy the easy peasy quilt kits are. Because if you're a beginner, you're going to be wondering what on earth and how do I actually do it. When you open the box, you will find there are 2 large pieces of fabric, and they want a good press. So I have got mine here, just wrapped around in a card. And once you look at the fabrics, let me show you how big they are. You can see the quilts on the wall, but those are the size of the 2 pieces of fabric. But note carefully that the backing fabric is deliberately a little bit bigger than the top fabric, so this is a little bit larger, and that's important. Always when you're making a quilt up, you want to have the backing fabric a little bit bigger. So move number 1 is you will take the 2 pieces of fabric, they will need a very good press. If you find because it's been folded up the creases don't come out, then just use a steam iron, or you could use a damp cloth and just lightly press them out. It's pure cotton, it will not suffer any problems whatsoever. You'll need some wadding or fluff. So one of these will do you very nicely. In fact, you should even be able to get 2 quilts out of this particular size of wadding. And what I particularly like about this wadding is that when you've got the offcuts, you can simply join them together with a zigzag across or latch them together by hand, so you never waste any of this particular wadding. Right, so how it actually works is take your 2 big pieces of fabric. Now, I'm not going to work with this because there just isn't the room on the show, so I've done smaller scale of the entire thing. So just let me pop that out the way. And I'm using the Tweed Town fabric, if anybody sees it, and the Tweed Town you will find on the website. So this represents the front of my quilt, and that represents the backing of the quilt. And notice the backing is bigger than the quilt top. You'll also want to have your fluff, again, keep it bigger. Always err on the side of more is better than less. And the reason being is when you put the layers together, sometimes your quilt top, if it's been pieced, will creep a bit. So it might grow. So always have your backing fabric bigger, always have your wadding a little larger. It just saves problems afterwards. What I would be inclined to do is layer. Lay your wadding down and get it nice and flat. Take the backing fabric, put the backing fabric on top of the wadding. Take the top fabric and make sure you've got it right side down. We're using the bag method. So we've got our 3 layers of material. They now need to be pinned, or you could tag them together. You might have the micro-stitch tool, or you might just want to use pins. Now, when you come to use pins, in my opinion, your pins want to go in with the pins going towards the outside edge. And the reason for that is the weight of your hand going into the fabric actually pushes the materials outwards. If I put my pins in this way round, I'm actually, as you can see, pushing the fabrics inwards. And what I want is my pins and my fabrics to go that way, the same way that my hands would smooth them. If you iron it at this stage, and just be careful not to plonk the iron too much on the wadding, you'll find it slightly helps to stick the layers together and indeed to the wadding. Once you've got your layers all beautifully pinned together, you're going to sew round. And I suggest you sew round the outside edge 1/4 inch in from the edge of the design. When you get the fabrics out, it will tell you to trim off the excess material. So you'll be trimming it back to the edge of the blue. And you'll be losing just a little bit of this in the seam allowance. So don't worry about it having a slightly uneven edge. You'll be working to the blue. So your seam allowance will come in 1/4 inch from the edge of that. You're going to sew all the way round the top, but remember to leave a hole in the bottom, because you can't turn it through if you don't leave a hole. As you sew round, I'd make your stitch length a little bit longer, because you're working on 3 layers of fabric and indeed the fluff. And if you sew with the regular stitch length, what will happen is the stitches will contract and they'll be very hard to unpick if you wobbled a little. Once you've sewn all the way round, then you want to trim off all the excess fluff and wadding back to 1/4 inch from the seam line. You can do that with the rotary cutter, but if you're in the least bit worried about it, then use a pair of scissors. So just trim off. It helps if you haven't got the lock on your rotary cutter. Let's try it again. There we go. It's locked for safety. Right, so once you've trimmed it off all the way round, that's when you're going to turn it through the hole. So remove the pins. Just imagine I've trimmed it off all the way around, and you're going to turn it through that little hole. Once you've turned it through the little hole, it wants a real good press, and make sure you poke the corners out and that you get it nice and clean round the edge here. Quite often I'll open the quilt out and press just the edge along here with perhaps the clover mini iron, just to make certain I've got the 2 fabrics neatly spread out. The little hole where you turned it through will need to be sewn up, and you could either leave the quilt like that, or quiltlet in this case. Anybody emailing in, I think we will give away this little quilt top and indeed some of the samples. What they suggest you now do is you sew 1/4 inch inside all the way round. So going to the sewing machine, if you've got a walking foot, this would be the best time to put it on. Put your walking foot on, and the reason for that is you've got several layers of fabric. So walking foot will help massage the layers through. The walking foot has its own feed dogs, and the machine's got its feed dogs, and it sort of pulls the fabric through as it goes. When you're doing your 1/4 inch stitching all the way around, I suggest you again make your stitch length just a little bit bigger. So let's just go for that and sew round there. Put it on the right stitch. Move my needle over. There we are. And set the stitch length a bit longer. That'll do nicely. Right, so I'm going to work my way all the way around with the edge of the presser foot on the edge of the seam. And that will just add a rather neat little, seemingly like bound edge to the quilt. And that's all you need to do with the easy peasy quilt sets. So you have a choice of 2 designs. You have a choice of the one with the rather nice little elephants on, and you have the one that has also on it the triangles. So both of these kits are made up in exactly the same way. They are, as they say they are, easy peasy quilt kits. Now the other thing that is equally easy is our kits. And this is what our Jen in a minute is going to do. When you open the kit, you will get inside some wadding. You will get inside a plastic needle. You will get inside a regular needle, which is for sewing the ribbon in, and you will get all the necessary threads. plus you get the bit of ribbon to hang it up on, and you get the various shapes, and they're all punched out already. When it comes to making the heart, let me get my heart from over here, then they suggest that you make up the white section first. You'll find in the kit come full instructions, so no problems with the instructions whatsoever. Nice, clear, easy to read instructions. I mean, 4 kits, hey, come on, it's a jolly good deal, that. So you've got your 4 kits, your full instructions there. The little flowers are made up by doing nothing more complex than coming up and down, up and down, up and down, fill in all the little holes in the middle, and then as you start to go around the outside edge, just take your needle down. Not like that, Jennifer, it was a bit silly. It's because I picked it up. Getting a rare old muddle here. And up. So all you're going to be doing is filling in the shape. Down you go, up again, down, and work your way around. And when you've done one of the little flowers, what I would suggest you do is jump to the next one and keep going. Now, you'll get 1 plastic needle in the set. I've actually got 2 because I've done all the 6 sets. There are 6 sets. We've got 4 here. When it comes to putting them together, how you put them together is like this. I'm just going to do a little bit because Jenny's going to finish it off and she'll need to be able to sew the rest of the designs. I discovered it was much the easiest to actually do a running stitch through all the various layers. So I'll just do this gently because Jenny can pull it out and do it again. So doing a running stitch, and then what you do when you want to fill it in is you do a running stitch again, but filling in the holes. So let's come up and do that one there. There we go. And then when you've done, do one more down there. So once you've gone round with your running stitch, if you then come back and do a running stitch back in the opposite direction, this then gave you that rather nice, getting in a tangle here. Oh dear, Jennifer, you're getting a rare old muddle there. Just talk amongst yourselves while I sort myself out. That's it. I'll do that a little bit. Once you've done that, this will give you the continuous line of stitching you can see round the top of that. So this I'm going to hand over to Jenny because she's standing there in the corner wondering what on earth she's going to do. And let's see how far she can get with the design. So I'll give her all of that and the ribbon and that and a pair of scissors. Make sure I've still got a pair of scissors left. There's a pair of scissors for our Jenny.
Thank you.
There you are, Mrs. Oh, you want some stuff?
Thank you very much.
There's the needle.
Lovely.
And here's the fluff. Okay.
Thank you.
That's
I'm
it.
excited about
On
this.
you get.
You're leaving me to my own devices.
I'm going to leave you totally to your own devices. If you get stuck, squeak.
Okay.
I may not answer you, but you can always try. Right, to the quilting classroom. The quilting classroom is going to be using the Star and Geese template. This is this one. Now, one of the nice things about this template is it's a double whammy template because it does quarter square triangles and half square triangles. And I decided to use it for this particular design where you've got a star in a star in a star. And I chose the Heather Jacks ombre fabrics. They really are extremely nice materials to work with. Nice range of little ditsy prints. And I think what the nice thing about the little itsy bitsy ditsy prints is that if you make a mistake, yours doesn't show. And you may well find that if you make a cutting error with this design, you can join various pieces together, obviously of the same pattern, and it actually doesn't notice. I had to do that several times when working it out because I only had 1 pack of the fabrics. So what we'll be working on is this particular design. And let me take that off and you can appreciate its full beauty with the circle in the middle. I like the circle, but then I wasn't sure. You know, the choice is yours. But the design is worked like this. We're going to make the centre up first. So let me put that to one side. And in order to make the centre up, I used some of the green fabrics. Now, we had the green fabric on the show on Wednesday. And this was the green Heather Jacks ombre material. And you might have seen me doing the card tricks design. Here is the finished card tricks design from Wednesday's show. So if you wanted to know how card tricks goes, go and look at Wednesday's show. And amazingly, you can do the card tricks design with this particular template. You just work it in exactly the same way because you have the companion angle here and you have the half square triangle there. So it's a really useful template. It does both sorts. But where it is not quite the same as the ones we had on Wednesday is it only measures to ½ an inch. So you've got not quite so many measuring increments as you have on some of the other templates. But there is your finished off card tricks. How we're going to begin is we're going to begin with the centre. Now, for those of you who are thinking to yourself, why is it called star and geese? The reason why is the shape it actually makes is this shape. This in the centre is your quarter square, and these are your half squares. And if I turn this that way up, that's actually your flying goose. And your flying geese will fly along the edge of your quilt like that. This being the goose, and this being, I suppose you could call it, the sky. On the template, it's shown like this. There is the goose, the solid red bit, and here is the sky. So the black lines make the sky, so to speak, and the red lines make the goose. Now, you could have your geese like that, or you could turn your geese round like this and have them as a border. Or, of course, you could put two geese together and, amazingly, they make a square. So the opportunities of playing with just a flying goose really are legion. You can do a lot of things with them. I chose to use it to make up this particular star design we have here. Right, when it comes to cutting this out, to make the goose sections, which are the sections that go there, you will need to cut 2.5-inch wide strips. So this neat little ruler here is absolutely ideal for cutting your 2.5-inch wide strips. Once you've got your 2.5-inch wide strips, we're going to be doing the geese. So we want the red section. Remember, red is the geese. Place the template on the fabric and cut off one end, trim it off. Make certain that when you put the template on the fabric, the flat part of the template is to the very edge of the strip. Take the rotary cutter and just push the rotary cutter up the edge of the template like that. When it comes to cutting the next one, flip it over, replace the template, there we are, making sure the very flat tip, and don't worry, it's not broken, it's meant to be like that, it's actually going to save you some fabric, and keep going. So this is the centre part of the star from a 2.5-inch strip. You will need your geese, so to speak. You then want the sky, and it's the same width of strip, so 2.5 inches again. Keep your strip folded in half, it just makes life a little bit easier. And we're going to be using the black parts of the template, side B. So I'm going to work from this end, place the template on the top. Now I happen to be right-handed, but this works equally easily left or right. Make sure you've got all the edges of the fabric aligned with the ruler. Guard off your rotary cutter if you need to. If not, you're using one of these, just push. That will give you 2 pieces of the sky. And the all-important part about cutting these triangles out like this is you end up with your triangles with the grain in the right direction. Quarter square triangles have 1 straight side and 2 stretchy ones. Half square triangles have 2 straight sides and 1 stretchy one. So that when you put the block together, you've got nice, straight, even sides all the way around. The number of times that people get the flying goose design wrong with the cutting out, and you end up with a goose that just stretches. Having cut 2 little triangles there, if you then turn the template round, replace the template, pop it on the top there, and you can cut out the next lot. To make up the star design, you're going to need 4 sections like this, and you will need 8 of these, so you'll need to cut 4 times. You'll also want, in addition to that, some little squares. And you'll want 2.5-inch squares. So these squares can be cut from that same strip you've already cut out, using, obviously, the rotary cutting ruler. So we want 2.5-inch squares, and you'll want 4 of them. You then want, for the very centre of the block, 1 4.5-inch square. And this is where this ruler is so useful, because, amazingly, it is a 4.5-inch wide ruler. So it just takes the steam out of one cutting of one measurement. How does the design go together? Well, the design goes together like this. Make up the geese. To make up the geese, take the centre and 2 bits of sky. 1 bit of sky goes on one side, flip it over. When you line it up, you're going to find that as it lines up, a little bit will stick out the end here, and there'll be a bit missing down in the bottom corner, and sew your 1/4 inch seam allowance right up the edge of that there. So let's get this machine set at a 1/4 inch. Let's go back for that. If you set the machine for doing a 1/4 inch by moving your needle to 5.5, that will work on many machines. And then sew off the end onto your thread saver. I've lost my thread saver. Here we are, let's lose a bit of this. As you get into using a thread saver, smaller and smaller scraps of fabric will suffice. So once you stitch one piece on one side, I tend to open the seams out, and I like them pressed open and flat. I think it gives you a better end result. Take the other part of the sky and put it on the other side. And when you lay it on, you'll find again you'll have a bit missing down the bottom and a bit sticking out at the top. It doesn't matter if you get this the other way round. Let's just show you, because sometimes you pick up the wrong ones. But if you have it this way round, then it will fit completely. Either way works. It doesn't really matter at all. And again, back underneath the machine and sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And onto our very small thread saver. I have to confess, when I'm working at home, I have a really small scrap. Saves fabric. When you open it out, you should end up with a seam allowance at the top of the shape, because that is what you're going to need in order to make certain you keep your points accurately. Right, so how does the block go together? Take the centre square. Take one of the geese and stitch it onto one side. Take one of the geese and stitch it onto the other side. Notice that I'm beginning to make the star design. To either end of the remaining 2 pieces, you'll need to add a square. We put 1 square on one end and 1 square on the other end. Repeat with the other strip, 1 square on one end and 1 square on the other end. Can't find, there it is. And when you've joined them all together, you should end up with a couple of strips that look something like this. One like that and one like that. Now, once you stitch the sides on, stitch top and bottom on. It'd be really rather nice if you can possibly get all your points to match. Now, because I was running out of fabric, I've had to join various pieces together. But your centre design should look something like this. And I personally prefer to press the seams open and flat. And the other thing I do before I get much older is to cut off any little ears, because you've still got a few ears to remove. And it's well worth taking the ears off once you have done the seam. So once you've stitched it, remove ears, press it. Okay, so here we have our centre section. Once you've done the centre section, we're going to look at the next round going around the block. Let's put those out the way, dump on the floor in the time-honoured fashion. And that piece as well. The next design I've got round there is in fact another star, because this is really a star in a star in a star. It's actually 3 stars. And I think the patchworks worked because you can see a variety of different shapes as well as the stars coming out of it. So we're now going to do the next border. And the next border will take 4.5 inch strips of fabric. So back again to this particular ruler. You will need to make up 4 more flying geese in exactly the same way that I've just shown you, but this time using 4.5 inch strips. When you've made the 4 up, how they're going to be applied is one's going to go there, one there, one there, and one there. Now, that is the star shape, but you could consider turning these round, because this is the wondrous thing about patchwork, is that you can play. And look, you've altered the design. You've totally changed it. So we could have the star, or you could have a square round it. The choice is yours. Now, we're missing bits in the corners. Can you think of what size the squares should be? If this was a 4.5 inch strip I cut, any idea what size the square should be? Absolutely, got it in one, 4.5 inches. So we'll want 4.5 inches to go in the various corners. So this is how the design is going to be built up. Right, I'm now going to change colours. So we're now going to be working on the grey. So let's grab the grey and bring the grey over. This grey was actually extraordinarily pretty. Once you've made the various strips up, you will add them to the block in exactly the same way as we added them to the first time. So all you've done is repeat the method. Sides, add a square to either end of the strip, put it on, add a square to either end of the strip, put it on. Give it a good press. So we've done the centre part of the block. You could actually stop there and say, right, that's a jolly good cushion. It's a 16-inch cushion. Or you could go on to make the complete panel. And when we go on to make the complete panel, what we're now going to look at is doing the next border that goes round here, which is this shape. And if you look at it carefully, you've actually got 1, 2, 3 quarter square triangles, 2 half square triangles, and squares on the end. And yet again, I used a 4.5 inch strip and cut it out. And what you're going to be doing now is decide on your colour arrangement, which might be determined by what fabrics you've got left. But I had 1 in the lighter fabric and 2 in a slightly darker one. And these are going to be joined together to make a row. So dark, light, dark. You'll then want 2 half square triangles. One goes on one end and one goes on the other end. Now, when you come to join these together, it's no different to joining them together. Place the 2 pieces, one on top of the other. You will have a little bit missing in the bottom corner down there and a little bit up there. As my husband said, there's a little bit missing in me most of the time, but we'll ignore that one. He can be very rude at times. Do you know, quick little joke. The other day on our anniversary, my husband said to me, "What would you like?" So I said, "A divorce." And do you know what he said? He wasn't going to spend that much. Think about it. And that actually wasn't my joke. Thank you to the listener who sent that in to me. So join them together to make a nice long line. Those 3 pieces together there, put 1 triangle on one end, 1 triangle on the other end. And with luck, it'll end up looking something like this. And you want to repeat that 4 times. Now, because I only had 1 pack of the grey, I actually had to stitch some of my pieces together to make what looked like a quarter square triangle. Because amazingly, if you put 2 half squares together, you will get a quarter square triangle. So if you miscut, don't panic. Just join enough pieces together and make sure you can cut out the right size. And this is what I mean about those little ditzy prints. If you stitch ditzy prints together, they actually don't notice if you slightly wander from the chosen path of your seam allowance. So we're going to have 4 sections like that. To 2 of the 4 sections, you will need to add a 4.5-inch square to either end, on one end, one the other end. Right, and the design gets joined together like this. So take one of the side sections, put it on, move these pieces out of the way, get it round the right way, and one side section on the other way round, there we go, and then you want your top and bottom piece, move that out of the way there. And somewhere there should be the other piece which is knocking around somewhere. I know I did it. Why is it these pieces always vanish? Let's see, just have to make this piece up. I probably didn't do that one. Ran out of time. So let's put this at the top here. There we go. One there and one there. And then the 2 squares in the corners. And there is our completed start. But you could, if you wanted to, change it. Look what happens if I turn this strip round. Can you see how the design completely changes? Let's just turn this one round quickly. Again, this is the magic of patchwork. You can design what you like. And indeed, you could take this template, design something, and even enter it in a competition. There's a competition out there to use with this particular template. So you could play with it. Right, once you've decided which way round you're going to do, and it actually does pay to make sure as you stitch the sides on, you've got it all round the right way. Because it's very easy if you decided on this design to put one round that way and some of the others round the other way. So think about it before you lay it out. Right, when we've got the whole thing together, it should look something like this one. Bear in mind, I only had 1 packet of the grey, so I managed to get all my lesson prep out of 1 thing of grey. So there is my slightly different colour arrangement of the design. Notice I've got here a slightly different colour, and it just adds a little different perspective. There is one, and here is the other. Do it again. Can you see the slight difference? Just how you put the colours down. Now, once you've got your design to this stage, then it's going to need layering. So back to the wadding. So go and get the wadding. This is particularly nice wadding, so we want the wadding. You'll then want backing fabric. Now, if you're only working with 1 pack of the 6 fat quarters, you can actually make the backup out of the pieces you have left over, so you won't waste anything. Because I had only 1 pack of fat quarters and I've got to make up all the designs, I didn't have enough to make the back. You will. So I've used just simply, literally a plain piece of calico for the back of my design. How you will layer it is lay the calico down, or whatever you're using for the back. Make sure, as I said earlier, it's plenty big enough. Your wadding goes down on top. Layer your wadding on top. And then quilt the layers together. Now, You have a choice. What I did with the one that I've got here is I added those stars. And I used the 5-point star in the corners and the little heart, and indeed the circle in the middle. If you're going to do that, then draw round the heart shapes onto Bondaweb. Bond the fabric, the Bondaweb, to the back of the fabric first. Make sure that you actually have more fabric than Bondaweb. Always have a little bit more fabric, because you do not want to get Bondaweb on the ironing board. You just don't. So I always ensure there's a bit of extra fabric outside my Bondaweb. If you're feeling wanting to be particularly careful with the Bondaweb, it actually pays to draw around the star on the Bondaweb, roughly cut it out from the Bondaweb, then press it to the fabric. You'll waste slightly less material, as I'm doing here. Now, when it comes to bonding down, you have a choice. I chose to use the back of the fabric rather than the front. So this was the back of one of the black fabrics, and as you can see, this is the back of the little grey fabric with the little cherries on it. No reason why you can't use the back. It just gives you a different colour variation. If you have difficulty getting the Bondaweb off, sometimes it'll come off if you wriggle it. Otherwise, if you score it with a pin, you can tear it off very simply. So top tip for getting off Bondaweb. Now, your choice is either to apply your designs now before you put it onto the wadding, or you could consider doing your quilting and then applying them afterwards, which is what I did. So I actually layered my quilt up. I did nothing more complex than stitch straight lines outside parts of the design. And then, having made the quilt up, then I put my appliques on top and I satin stitched them through all of the layers. This had the double effect of making it a little bit more quilted and a little bit more textural. But if you were worried about that, then of course you could put your stars on now and either hand stitch them on, or you could stitch them on with some form of buttonhole stitch, or you could stitch them on with the satin stitch. So that design is extremely easy to do. Now, this little star you'll find in your quilting classroom notes, which takes you through the entire thing. There actually is a little star, and this was something I did very quickly by simply taking Bondaweb shape, drawing round the shape, cutting it out of there, taking another bit of fabric. Let's have a bit of this. Sadly, I left these things all at home, so you can't see my amazing things I did with it, because I did some excellent bits and pieces that would make wonderful hanging things. This side has got the Bondaweb on. Before you press the two pieces together, you want to tuck in a little bit of thread. And that made a very nice, quick little hanging up design. So before you iron them together, tuck in a little bit of thread. So pop it in down there. Tuck the thread in, and then you can cut it out. Just be careful when you cut it out not to cut the bit of thread off. And then another thing you could think about is, of course, why not take two card shapes and put a simple draw round the shape and slit it. Just put a slit, as long as the slit goes halfway up, and you slit from point to middle on one of them and from the inner point to the middle on the other, and just put the two of them together. Now, all you paper crafters out there, you've got some wonderful gold card. Think about a child's mobile. Think about hanging it on the Christmas tree. Think about embellishing it. Those 5-star pointed shapes really do make a very interesting template. So we've got a wide variety of things here. We've covered from the easy peasy quilts. We've looked at doing the heart design. And one little trick that I didn't tell Jenny that she might want to find out about is when you tuck the ribbon in, what I actually found was rather than putting the ribbon in and stitching it in place, I simply took my ribbon, tied a little knot in it, and inserted it so that beneath here is a knot. So I didn't have to sew the ribbon in, I just literally tucked it in with a knot on the end, so it stayed in there very nicely and very simply. So we've covered quite a lot of things. The only thing to show you now is what is happening on the next quilting classroom, because the next quilting classroom is, now you have to wait a minute until I get it out. We're going to do a medallion quilt. And a medallion quilt works a bit like this one. It will have a centre motif with a variety of borders around it. and we're going to do something slightly different. There will be a pack of fabrics available, but what I'm going to be working on is 2 different designs. You will have a chance to draw and make your own templates. This is a traditional block. It has 2 names. One is a St. Louis, and it's also called Mother's Delight. So there is Mother's Delight. There'll also be a longer template that we're going to do to make this extended star. We're then going to use, and the reason for showing you this is that on Wednesday's show we had the TriMet template, and I'm going to be using the TriMet template to add the border round the edge. Let me get my pieces in the right direction. So next time's classroom is going to be, this will be the middle, or you have a choice, you're able to do that. And we'll look at how you draw up templates, how you add a seam allowance, and indeed how you can put it all together. So you will be the artiste, but if you want a template, there will be a template option. So I think that just about begins to wrap us up. How's our Jen got on?
Well, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 of the little flowers.
Well done.
And then, so I've just got 1 flower to do, and then it's a 3-minute job after that, isn't
Absolutely,
it?
yes.
I love it.
It's good, isn't it? I must confess, I enjoyed doing that.
Well, they gave me the emails, and I said, I can't, I'm busy. It's so nice to get your head down and just...
Yes. And it was simple, and it was easy, and the children can do it because that pink needle is blunt. So
I'm going to get those because
it.
I think they're great for kids, and they're great for me because I think after work, just to wind down on something that doesn't, you know, it's all mapped out for you. Really nice.
I had to wait for the plumber. I had half an hour to an hour to waste for the plumber, and you know what it's like waiting for somebody. So I thought, one of those. So I sat there and just did, I think it was the donut, whilst waiting for the plumber.
A real de-stressor.
Yes. Yes.
Much cheaper than therapy.
He was much longer than his hour in any case.
Oh, they always are, aren't they?
Yep.
They're always very busy at the moment. Now, we've had loads of emails for you.
Good.
So I'm going to read some out, if that's okay. I've got Marion, who's from Micklemorgan, saying, good morning all. Good morning, Marion.
Morning.
Another excellent show with Jenny. The classroom is always very good. Jenny is such a clever and pleasant lady. Any problems, and she is always ready to help. See, it's you, because it's IE. And thank you again.
No, you equally so.
Oh,
that was
no.
Nice.
Well, no, you can't. Your head might not get through the door after this, but I think you should lap this up because you are so wonderful at teaching everyone. Damien in Bolton says, good morning, ladies, and all the crafty crew at Create and Craft.
Hello.
Hello.
Lovely to see Jenny again, giving away all her fantastic ideas, tips and advice. Looking forward to seeing any demos. Tina writes, good morning to everyone. Good morning, Tina. I just wanted to say that every time I watch Jenny Raymond, I learn something new. I've been quilting for about 18 months, and today I have learned how to place my pins on a quilt.
That was where your fabric gets pushed. It seems logical.
It's all the little things, though. That's why people tune in, because it's the little tips that go, aha, light bulb moment. I've been pinning mine with the point facing in, and yes, my fabric moved and puckered in the middle. Thank you, Jenny. I will always now be pinning out. So remember, have it tattooed on your hand if you have to, pins out.
It has one slight drawback. It's slightly more likely to damage you because the pinpoint's pointing out.
Oh, so you might get
a few through scratches and things. So, but it is worth it to have your quilt flatter.
So be aware for that. Debbie writes, morning, Jenny, and morning to the crew. Morning, Debbie. Debbie's in the Malverns. I love the Malverns. Thanks for yet another wonderful show. Just want to thank you for the idea last month with the steampunk fabric.
Have we got any steampunk fabric in there? Yes, there's a bit. This quilt hanging behind me was literally scraps. Made up by one of my classes. We were making quilts for Linus. It's just scraps. Scraps clipped together randomly, squared off with the rotary cutter and the square. We've got the 12.5-inch square on the show, whacked together onto a bit of fluff, wiggle quilting all over it, put the border on, bind it, and there you go.
Love it. That wiggle quilting's amazing, isn't it?
Yes, it's well worth being relaxed, and preferably after a glass or two does it better.
Oh, really?
Because you drop the shoulders and you go into relaxed mode.
Okay, good. I must drink this wine. Jenny Raymond told me to. Now she's been turning...
Red for black fabric, white for light fabric.
Okay.
Not this time of the morning, though.
Always thinking. Lynn, who is from Plymouth, says, good morning, Jenny and Jenny, and the studio team.
Morning, team.
Hiya, Jenny. Not Jenny, Lynn. Yet another wonderful show from the talented Jenny. I love watching this show to see what I can learn. Jenny, you're so enthusiastic and always make everything look so easy. I love the gorgeous kits on the show today, and I am unsure what to buy. Do you know, I think there's something for everybody's.
Yes.
Yeah, I think everybody's price
yes,
range.
I think so.
So the easy peasy quilt, you don't actually have to piece the pieces
no,
together,
you don't.
do
I mean,
you?
they literally are. If we go to and look at it over here, if I come over here, this is the quilt. There's its backing fabric.
That really appealed to me because you don't have any hard work
afterwards, if you wanted to, quilt in the ditch. This one, I actually did quilt just round there. So I just went round the triangles.
So it made it look like you'd quilted it.
Yes, just a little bit triangle. And what I did with that was I quilted it, I put it onto the wadding and then did my quilting and then put the backing on top and stitched around the edge.
Oh,
so it's only quilted to the wadding, which meant I could use a regular foot because not everyone's got a walking foot. Because if you did that, you'd need to have a walking foot. Because one of the 3 layers would creep otherwise.
So if somebody's just getting a sewing machine for the first time, I think it's a great project to try out your sewing machine on. I think that's wonderful, which is why I think I might get that, because I'm just about to buy a sewing machine. I just can't decide which one to get at the moment. We do so many good ones.
We do so many good ones.
So I'm looking at that, and then I'll get something like this because
it's given you
I think that'll give me the
boost.
start. Because I think the most stressful thing to do when you get your sewing machine is the first project.
Yes.
You think,
yes. And if you've got something that's easy and you achieve it simply, then you want to go on.
Exactly.
If you start off too complicated, then you're just going to get bogged down in a morass of cut-out pieces, points that don't match. Go simple.
That's why I think this is perfect.
Yep.
Perfect for your mojos. And if you've got dexterity problems, I think it's great. Now, a reminder of the Heather Jacks fabric, because it is... We always knew it was going to fly out, didn't we?
We've only got
always
2
going to be
colours left
ridiculously busy. I know, and every time you and I have been on, that one's sold out. Well, it could happen. Now, most of you buy after the hour because you sit and you watch Jenny. So, you know what? You need to be very quick if you want this. 365569. You've got black and white or the grey as your colour options. When are you back, Jen?
Back on February the 12th for the next quilting classroom, unless I get another show in between.
Well, we need you in between.
Well, I'll have to ask them upstairs.
I say email in, demand more. That's what we want every Sunday morning to be like this.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Lovely.
But the snag is it is a bit difficult getting up and leaving the house at 10 to 3.
On a Sunday morning.
Yes.
I hear you on that one.
But I do get home for an early lunch, so there we go.
Well, so every cloud. Now, don't go anywhere because the wonderful Rachel, thank you so much, is up to